Hello my dear students, welcome to my channel. I am your biology expert Salman Anwar. So students, we are going to start a new series today, right? The series is somewhat like this. We are going to start the recorded lectures. I'll be giving you the entire chapter in a recorded form, right? You have to do what? You have to watch that lecture from start till end. You don't have to slack a little bit in between them. You have to write whatever I am making you write. So keep on writing with me, keep on studying with me. Then what will happen? Your entire syllabus will be covered very easily. Now some lectures will be of one shot, some lectures will be of series, right? L1, L2 and L3. Everything, each and everything will be informed in the Telegram channel. So just go ahead. If you have not joined my Telegram channel, go ahead and join my Telegram channel. My Telegram channel name is Salman Anwar Khan, right? Just go ahead and search it off. And if you have not subscribed this channel, what you're waiting for? Just go ahead and subscribe the channel, press the bell icon and like the video. Let's go ahead and start this chapter. So the chapter that we are going to start is a very easy chapter. The chapter name is The Living World. It's the first chapter of your class 11th, right? It's the first chapter of your class 11th. So let's go ahead. The Living World. Very easy chapter, I'll say. It's one of the most easiest chapter, right? Every year there will be one question coming from this particular chapter only. It's a very easy chapter. Every year there is one question coming from this chapter, and you can easily score good marks from this particular chapter, right? So let's go ahead and start. And one more thing I'll tell you from this chapter, various parts of this chapter has been deleted. Yes, you heard it correctly. The characteristics segment, the taxonomic age segment has been deleted because we don't know the syllabus yet. First of all, we don't know the syllabus yet, what's happening. So we will be following the new NCERT as per till now, right? We'll be following the new NCERT. So let's go ahead and start the first topic, that is diversity in the living world, right? We are going to start with the first topic, that is our diversity in the living world. Just a second. Diversity in the living world. You can just make the video at 1.25 also, because I'm going to write each and everything for you. So this diversity chapter, this point. So first of all, there is a very fascinating line written in your class 12th last chapter, biodiversity and conversation. If any alien is going to visit our planet Earth, that alien will be astonished to see the various diversity. They will be astonished to see the beauty of this entire planet Earth, because we have variability. We have n number of species available in this entire world, right? We have different types of plants, we have different types of animals, we have such abundance of fungi, such a large number of bacteria, microbes living around us, right? So we have this planet Earth is rich in diversity. So in this living world, in this the entire world is beautiful. I'll just state this word as beautiful. The entire world is full with variability. Everything, each and everything is a form of variability only. They all are the result of, first of all, we all know they all are the result of evolution only. So now let's go ahead and start diversity in the living world, or diversity in the world. So what it is? It is the occurrence of different type. I will just keep on writing with so that you can also make the notes. And this entire notes will be given in the Telegram channel. So just go ahead and download our Telegram channel. So you need to focus. So occurrence of different type of organism. This is what we call as diversity, right? We have different types of organism present in this entire world. So occurrence of different type of organism is the diversity. So we have around, in the current data, we have around 1.7 to 1.8 million species. So this data is not so much correct, because this data has not been changed for many years. So if you'll check, so we have written what? Occurrence of different type of organism on Earth, right? On Earth. So this is the basic definition given in your NCERT also. So if you will check out the data, so we have around 1.7 to 1.8 million species present. We have around 1.7 to 1.8 million species, right? We have around 1.7 to 1.8 million species present till now. So that's a huge number. That's a huge number, but according to Robert May, so according to Robert May, this data varies, right? According to this Robert May, the data varies, right? Because according to Robert May, there is around 7 million species, because there is still various part of the earth which has been unexplored. Yes, till now, the various part like ocean's depth, no one has reached till the ocean's depth, as well as this Amazon rainforest, no one has reached till the depth of these some forests. Right, so there are around 1.7 to 1.8 million species present till now. Now, if you will take the accountability of these species, so let's make a chart. Change the color. Yeah. So around, if I will talk about this 1.7 to 1.8 million species, so we have certain amount of animals present. So if you will talk about animals, so if we'll talk about the number of animals, so we have around 1.25 million species of animals. We have around 1.25 million species. So that's a huge number. And if we'll talk about the maximum number, so if we will talk about the maximum number, so maximum diversity is being shown up by insects. So in this 1.25 million species, the maximum diversity is shown by insect. Right, if we'll talk about the maximum diversity, it's been shown by insects. Now if we'll talk about animals, in plants, sorry, if we'll talk about in plants, the left out number, that is around 0.55 million species are of plants. 0.55 million species. Right, so we have around 0.55 million species of plants, in which the maximum diversity, in this the maximum diversity is being shown by angiosperm, right? The maximum diversity in this, okay, the maximum diversity, I'll give you a minute to write, don't worry, is being shown up by angiosperm. Right, so you can just go ahead and write it down. The maximum diversity is being shown up by the angiosperms, right? So these data you have to remember perfectly, right? You have to remember each and every point of these data. You can write it down clearly. So maximum diversity is of angiosperm, right? So let me highlight you the key points over here. So let me change the color first. This color is not good. I'll go for highlighter color as yellow. So this insect point is extremely important. This angiosperm point is extremely important. Just make sure to remember it very clearly. Now let's go ahead and understand this diversity in a quite a detailed manner. Let us understand this more point in it. So we have a huge number of diversity present. Yes or no? We have a huge number of diversity. We have huge diversity present. And to study each and every organism, it's not possible, right? We have huge diversity. Huge diversity is present. We have a huge number of diversity, right? It is impossible to study each and every organism. Impossible to study each and every organism. It is impossible to study every organism. Right? It is impossible to study every organism. So this is happening with me. Study, S-T-U-D-Y. It is impossible to study every organism. To make this study easier and possible, the classification was introduced. To make this study easier and possible, right? To make study easier and possible, we introduced classification. Right? To make this study easier and possible, we introduced a new terminology. We introduced a new terminology called as the classification. It's a very important thing. Basic of this chapter, classification. Very extreme basic of this chapter, classification, that you have to remember it. Right? So what is a classification? The main thing is, sir, what is classification? Can you just give me a gist of the classification? Yes, I will give you everything about the classification. Don't worry. Right? So classification is what? It is the arrangement of organism into groups and subgroups on the basis of similarities or dissimilarities, and placing them in a hierarchy. Simple as that. Confusing? So let me tell you, give you an example. Let's suppose you are sitting in a ground. Let's suppose there is a ground present over here. Let's suppose this is a ground. Right? This is a assembly ground. Now in this assembly grounds, we have the students present, right? We have the rows present. We have a class 9th row. We have a student studying in class 9th. We have students studying in class 10th. We have students studying in class 11th. We have students studying in class 12th, right? Each and every class will have different rows of it. Now, is it possible that a 9th class student just stand up and move towards the 12th class row? Is it possible? No, not at all. It is not possible for a 9th class student to go and stand in a 12th class row. It is not possible that a 10th class student will go and stand in a 12th class row, or an 11th class student go and stand in a 9th class row. Why? Because we have made it crystal clear that 9th class will be classified on the age group, or the qualification purpose, or on the knowledge basis. So we have already placed the organisms. We have already placed the entire class on some particular rules. Right? So a 9th class student is going to stand in a 9th class row. A 10th class student is going to stand in a 10th class row. A 11th class student is going to stand in a 11th class row. It's not possible that these shuffling can occur. Now in this 9th and 10th class rows also, there is a row of a boy and there is rows of a girl. Till now I don't know, till my age it was the same, right? We have a special row of boys and special rows of girl. It was not there that the boys and girls are going to stand together. I don't know if it has been changed, so please do tell me in the comment segment, sir, this rule has been changed. So please do tell me. But till my age, this was not possible, right? There was a specific boys rows and girl row. We have already classified them. We have already classified the group into a subgroup of a male and a female. Yes or no? You will say yes, sir. Yes or no? You will say yes, sir. We have already classified the boy, means we have already classified the entire class from a boy and a girl, right? And there is always there that the smaller height student is going to stand in front and the longer height student is going to stand at back, right? So that a particular order is maintained. So same thing, this is the definition of classification. It is the process of placing the organism. It is the process of placing the organism. Process of placing the organism into groups and subgroup, into groups and subgroups. It's a very basic and easy definition, into groups and subgroups. Right? It's the process of placing the organisms into groups and subgroups on the basis of similarities or dissimilarities. On the basis of similarity or dissimilarity. So what is the definition? It's the process of placing the organisms into groups and subgroups on the basis of similarity or dissimilarity and placing them in a hierarchy. And placing them in a hierarchy. So this is the basic definition of classification. Placing of organism into groups and subgroups on the basis of similarities or dissimilarities and placing them in a hierarchy is called as classification. That's the utmost definition of classification. From this only each and everything started, right? The Aristotle classification, the Linnaeus classification, R.H. Whittaker's classification. This was the basis of each and every classification, right? We are going to place the organism into groups and then we'll make the subgroups on the basis of similarities or dissimilarities and placing them in an hierarchy. Right, we will be placing them in a particular hierarchy. From this classification only, the new terminology came into the picture, that is called as taxonomy. A new terminology, and it's a very important terminology that came into picture, that is called as the taxonomy. Very important definition, I'll say. So this taxonomy has been derived from two Greek words. It's been derived from two Greek words. It means taxa and norms. It has been derived from two Greek words. Right, it's been derived from two Greek words, taxa and norms. Okay? It means taxa means arrangement, norms means principle. It's been derived from two Greek words, taxa and norm. Taxa means what? Taxa means we can say taxa means arrangement and norms means principle. Taxa means arrangement and norms means principle. This is the basis of taxonomy. This is the basis of taxonomy. Taxa means arrangement and norms means principle. Now let us write down the definition of taxonomy. It's a branch of science which deals with the principle and study, or we can say the principle and procedure of classification, right? It's a branch of science which deals with the principle and procedures of classification. This is what we call as taxonomy. Let's write down the definition. It's a branch of science. I'll change the color to white. It's a branch of science which deals with the principle and procedure of classification, deals with the principle and procedure of classification. Very important definition, right? It's a branch of science which deals with the principle and procedure of classification. My handwriting is getting improved. Wow. Okay, it's the basic definition of taxonomy. It's a branch of science which deals with the principle and procedure of classification. This is what we call as taxonomy. The term taxonomy was given by A.P.D. Candolle. The term taxonomy was given by A.P.D. Candolle. I'll just write it down for you. It was termed by, the term was given by A.P.D. Candolle. The term taxonomy was given by A.P.D. Candolle. It's a very important name in the entire biology right now. Right? It's a very important name. So we have certain important names in the history. And this A.P.D. Candolle comes one of them. I will just make it correctly. Right, the term taxonomy was given by A.P.D. Candolle. Very important now name. So the father of taxonomy is Carolus Linnaeus. The father of taxonomy is Carolus Linnaeus. Right, the father of taxonomy is none other than a very famous scientist called as Carolus Linnaeus, which I called him the main character of the story. He is the main character of the entire botany. He is the main hero of the entire botany, Carolus Linnaeus. The father of taxonomy is Carolus Linnaeus, and the Indian father of taxonomy is Santa Pau. The Indian father of taxonomy is Santa Pau. Very important name, right? The Indian father of taxonomy is Santapao. It's a very, very, very important name. So we have to remember all these basic things, right? We have to remember all these basic things. That is a very important segment in our lecture. Apart from this, I will make you write some more things. Right, so let's go ahead and write it down, some more important things. So there are basic 4 elements of taxonomy, right? We have 4 elements of taxonomy which makes this taxonomy very unique, right? And it's been mentioned in your NCERT also. So there are 4 elements of taxonomy. There are 4 basic elements of taxonomy, very much important. The first element, the first and the foremost element is what? Characterization. The first element is characterization. The first element is characterization. And the second element is identification. I don't know why this red mark is coming. Might be S and Z, right? So the second one is identification, and the third one is classification, and then nomenclature. We have classification, we have classification, and the fourth and the last one is the nomenclature. So these are the 4 basic elements of taxonomy that you have to remember. It's very much important. Utmost important thing for your lecture, right? It's a very utmost important thing for your lecture. So we have characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature present. So let's go ahead and understand all these elements one by one. So let's start with the first element, that is our characterization, right? The first element is our characterization. I'll write down number 1. So this is the first element, characterization. Very important element, characterization. So let us understand this characterization. So let us suppose there is a student or let's suppose I am going somewhere and I found a new plant on the planet, or we can say I was just hopping around here and there and I just found an amazing thing somewhere. So what I'll do, let's suppose I found this pen found on the ground. I'll check, okay, this is looking like a nice pen. It is mentioned over CE, and then there is a something cross mark is mentioned over here. Then this has a narrow grip present over here. It has a tip present here, and it is the company of the pencil is mentioned. But let's suppose there was no company. Then I will just look at this pencil very clearly. Okay, what is this pencil and how this pencil is present? Or let's suppose I just found a plant. I just found a plant present somewhere. So let me just give me a second. Let's suppose I just found a very beautiful plant present, and I was amazed to see this beautiful plant. So what I'll do, I'll just characterize the plant, right? How we are going to characterize this? The listing of all possible characters. Whatever the characters I can list, I'll just mark it up. Whatever the characters I can just see or just figure it out, I will just write it down on a piece of paper, and then I will just computerize it. If I have a computer, then I will write it down in my laptop or the system itself only down there, right? So the first thing in characterization is listing of all the possible features or characters. It is listing of all possible features, or we can say characters. Whatever the features are there, we are going to list it up. Listing of all possible features or characters is the first thing that we are going to do in this particular thing. We are going to characterize this in this particular manner only. We are just going to characterize each and every unit. We are going to check each and every part of this. So we are going to do what? We are just going to do, if we'll check about the taxonomy, in the taxonomy segment, this characterization can be done in 2 forms. It can be done in a classical form or it can be done in a modern form. So we have 2 basic forms of taxonomy. One is a classical one, another one is a modern one. So let me write it down for you. So this is happening with me again and again, but no issues. We have a classical one and then we have a modern one. Right? We have a classical one and a modern one. In classical one, we do what? Like the old form. Classical means like the old form, but I love the classical things. So classical means the old forms, right? The classical means we are going to check the morphology. Right? In previous eras, there was no such big equipments to check. So the characterization was based on morphology. So we are going to do the morphological segment classification. So this classification will be morphological, or we can say on the basis of morphology. It will be on the basis of morphology. Just my handwriting is, let me make it right. Right, it in the basis of morphology, we are going to check it in the form of morphology also. What are the morphological features that we have? Right, whatever the morphological features that we have. MORDERN spelling is right. MORDERN, modern. Now it's correct. MORDERN. Okay, let it be. My spelling, they are not able to recognize it. So we have morphological features present. So morphological features is one of the important features, right? We are going to check the entire plant in a very basic manner, how this plant looks like. And then we have in modern features, we include morphology, we include anatomy, cell structure, embryology. In modern classification, we include morphology, we include anatomy. Right, we have morphology, we have anatomy, we have cell structure, we have development structures, we have cell structure, we have certain development structures, and then ecological rules, development, or we can say developmental process also in this. As well as we can write it out one more point as ecological rules. What role this particular part plays, right? So these are the modern forms: morphology, anatomy, cell structure, developmental process, as well as the ecological rule. But if you don't know, we can go for the classification for the normal classical one, also morphological one also we can go for it. And the second point, so first we did what? We just characterized this plant. We just did what? We just characterized this particular plant. Okay, this plant looks like this, right? We have just characterized this. Okay, we have found a plant, and these are the general features, or we can say characteristics of these particular plant. Now let's go for the second point, is identification. Now the second point states as the identification. Okay, just a second. So this identification is also a very interesting feature. It's a very interesting feature. Let me explain you why. Let me explain you why this identification is a very interesting feature. In this identification process, what we are going to do? We are going to check the plants. We are going to do the comparison, that the way that our parents do. I don't like that, but I don't like that. See, I just became a father. Some of you might be knowing that. I just became a father, and my parents used to do this identification, or we can say comparison thing, and I don't like it. And I will just suggest you all guys are also growing, do not do this comparison thing. Okay? So this comparison thing sometimes gives you a good morale, but many times it gives you negative morale also. Right? So it's not a good practice, but in science we do comparisons. In science we do comparisons. So we are going to do what? Comparison of characteristics, or we can say comparison of characters of organism with already present group. So comparison of, just a second. Comparison of characters with already present group, just spelling. Comparison of characters with already present groups. Right guys, so what we are going to do, we are going to do the comparison of characters with already present group. Whatever the group is present there, we are going to do the comparison. Simple as that, comparison of characters with already present group. That is the first thing that we are going to do. Let's suppose this, we have certain groups, like we have group number A, we have group number B, we have group number C. So we are going to compare this plant. We are going to compare this plant with already present groups, right? We are going to compare this plant with already present groups. So first we are going to compare it with the group A, doesn't match. Then we are going to compare it with the group B, it doesn't match. We are going to compare it with the group C, it doesn't match. So this comparison things will keep on going, right? This comparison part will keep on going until or unless we found the exact group. Let's suppose this plant is going to mark with the group Z, right? This is going to mark with the group Z. Then we are going to place that plant into the group Z only, right? We are going to place that plant into group Z. If it is not matching with any group, Eureka, you have just did a very fabulous work. You just did a very fabulous work. You became a new scientist. Your name will be published everywhere. You will become famous like anything. You will become famous like anything. So by doing this, you can do what? You can just keep the plant as your name also. You can keep the plant your name also. So my name is Salman. So I'll keep that XYZ plant as the surname as Salman. So this is a very interesting thing. And you will think that, sir, everything has been discovered. No, not yet. Everything is not yet discovered, kids. My dear students, there are still various things that needs to be discovered. I'll tell you a recent story. In Assam, there is a new frog discovered. Very rare frog. Very new frog has been discovered. It was just seen once by some naturalist during the time of Britishers. They were just seen it once at a time. But now a particular scientist has identified that frog. And the name has been given by the Indian community only. So that's a very big thing for us. That's a very big thing for us. So we have done the identification part. Then now we are going to deal with the third segment. The third segment states what? The third segment states the classification segment. The third part is classification part. So what happens in classification? In classification, we are going to do what? We are going to arrange, we are going to check the organisms, right? We are going to do the comparison again. We are going to check that comparison. If it has been found in the same group, we are going to do the comparison segment. Right? We are going to do the comparison segment. If they are been matching with the same group, if they are been matching, right, if we can say if it is matched, placed in same group, or we can say if it is showing similarity, I'll just write down the basic main terminology. If it is showing similarity, we are going to place them in same group, right? We are going to place them placed in same group. If it is going to show dissimilarity, we are going to make a new group, right? New group is formed to place the new organism. New group is formed to place the organism. So you can see such a beautiful thing. You can see how beautifully the things are being occurring, right? How beautifully the things are occurring over here, right? So we are going to do that. So if the similarity is present, we are going to place in the same group. If there is no similarity, then new group is being formed. Right now we are going to move towards the fourth point and the last point, that is nomenclature, right? If organism is similar, then same name is given. If the organism is dissimilar, then new name is given. That's it. The fourth point is nomenclature, and it's one of the most important point. The fourth point is nomenclature. In nomenclature, if the organism is similar, I'll just write it down. No, the pen thickness is quite high. Let's reduce the pen thickness. If the organism is similar, same name is given. If the organism is similar, same name is given. If the organism is going to show dissimilarity, new name is being given. If the organism is dissimilar, if the organism is dissimilar, new name is given. Right, so you have to remember this. If the organism is similar, then same name is given. If the organism is dissimilar, the new name is given. So these are the basic 4 elements of nomenclature. What are those 4 elements? The first one is characterization, identification, classification, and then nomenclature. So now let us discuss this nomenclature in a quite detailed manner, because this nomenclature is a thing that you have to remember. The nomenclature is very much important segment of any part of the lecture. So let's go ahead and understand this nomenclature. Right, this nomenclature point is a good point, I will say, and you have studied this in your junior class, you know this, and you will say, no sir, we don't. Then don't worry, I'll make you remember it again. Don't worry, I'll make you remember it again. It's a very easy topic. Nomenclature, it's one of the most easiest topic, right? It is the easiest topic, and you have been studying this nomenclature from your junior classes, right? It was there in your class 9 syllabus. This nomenclature was there in your class 9 syllabus. You have been studying this from your junior classes only. Nomenclature, what is a nomenclature? It is the providing specific name to the organisms, simple as that. So we all have some specific names, right? We all have some specific names, and there are certain specific people who gives our name, right? So we have Panditjis, right? We have certain preachers who give our name. There is certain Purans who decide. There are something Granths who decide our name, right? Okay, this person's name should start with Sa, or this person's name starts with the letter A or letter D, right? So this is what we call as nomenclature. We follow nomenclature everywhere, right? My name has specific meaning. Salman means to give, we can say in Hindi, we can say sabki salamati dena. I just want everyone to write down the name's meaning. I want you to write down your name's meaning. So nomenclature, so everything has a unique name, right? And every name has a distinguishing point. So every organism has this right to have a specific name. Every organism has the right to have a good name with you. Right, so what is nomenclature? So let us write down the definition of a nomenclature. It is providing, it is what? It is providing specific, distinguishing name, specific comma, name for each and every organism. This is what we call as nomenclature, right? This is what we call as nomenclature, providing specific and distinguishing name for each and every organism. This is what we call as nomenclature. There are 2 basic types of nomenclature. We have 2 types of nomenclature. Right, we have 2 basic types of nomenclature. The first type is called as what? It is a vernacular name. The first type is vernacular name. Don't worry, I'll make you understand what is the meaning of vernacular naming. Vernacular names. So this word vernacular is going to repeat itself a lot of time this word vernacular is going to repeat, so you just have to make sure to remember this meaning, right? I will give you the meaning, don't worry. We have vernacular name and then we have the scientific name. Right, so we have vernacular names and scientific names. So what is the meaning of vernacular name? It is the local name. The local name given by the local people. Simple as that, right? The local name. So everyone has, I will not say everyone, many of us have two names. At home we are called as Bittu, Chintu, Shintu, right? But in schools we are called as Jennifer, we are called as Salman, we are called as Arman, we are called as Lovekesh. Currently the Lovekesh is there, Elvish. Right, we have been called by different names, Faizu, Faisal, right? We have been called by different names in this entire industry that we have. My wife's name Aisha, right? So everyone has a house name as well as everyone. I will not say this word everyone, but many of us have a good name, right? In many of us has Happy, Chintu, Mintu, Shintu. So this is what we call as vernacular name. This vernacular name is being the local names given by the local people. Simple as that, right? So it is the common name given by the, I'll write down the meaning of this. It is the common name given by, it is the common name given by local people in their local language. Given by local people in their local language. Right, this is what we call as the vernacular names, right? This is what we call as the vernacular common name given by local people in their local language is called as vernacular name. This vernacular name has specific drawbacks, so let me write down the drawbacks, and it's very much important. So this vernacular name has certain drawbacks. First of all, we are not going to use it in our schools, right? We are not going to use it in our schools because it will be a thing of joke. Many of us will do mockery of us. So we don't do this. We don't write these names in our schools, right? But we tell them that my house name is Chintu or Shintu or Mintu, right? So Virat Kohli also has a house name. Do you know that? If you know that, write down in the comment section. What is the pet name of, or we can say the home name of Virat Kohli, right? Very famous name. So, or we can say the vernacular name of Virat Kohli, right? So we have a drawback of this particular system. The drawback number 1, it has been stated that we can say this, not every organism is given the vernacular name. First of all, right? Not provided to each and every organism. The first drawback is it has been not provided to each and every organism. The first and foremost drawback, it has been not provided to each and every organism. All the organism does not have the vernacular name, right? It is not provided to each and every organism. Communication is not possible, and the name changes from geography, right? Name changes from geography. From area to area, we can say, from area to area. Simple as that. The name changes from area to area. So let's suppose in Hindi we call rose, or we can say in English, for example, in English we have a rose present, right? This rose in Hindi this rose is being called as gulab. In Bengali, it has been called as golap. In Bengali, we call them as golap. In Tamil, we call this as rajopa. In Tamil, we call them as rajopa. Now, where you will get the notes? In the Telegram channel. I am repeating this again. You will get all these things in our Telegram channel. Search my name, Salman Anwar Khan, you will get it. In Tamil, we call them as Rajopa. And in Kannada, we call this as Gulabi. If this rose is being called in a different language in your area, please do let me know so that I can use this example for the next class. Right, in Kannada we call them as gulabi. So you can see the names is been changing, right? The name is been changing, right? The name is been changing from area to area. In Tamil it is called as Rajopak, in Kannada it is called as the Gulabi. So this is a specific example of vernacular naming drawbacks, right? Vernacular naming drawback, they have a specific drawback, right? This drawback is a very big drawback. So now let us talk about the second nomenclature, that is our scientific names. This scientific name is being given by the scientist, right? And this name is specific and universal in nature. So let's write down the scientific name. So let us understand this scientific name. So this scientist is this name is being given by scientist. I will just keep on writing. It is being given by scientist, right? This name is being given by scientist and it's been specific in nature, right? Name is being given by scientist and it has agreed rules and regulation. The names have already been named as agreed rules and regulation, and this name is universal in nature, right? It is universal in nature. So in a lab, you will go and say, what is an Rosa indica? The lab person will know, right? The Rosa indica is a rose name famous in all over the world. Mangifera indica is mango name common in all over the world, right? So it has been given by scientists. It has agreed rules and regulation. It is universal in nature. So we have two types of scientific names. We have basic two types of scientific name, right? So 1 second. Right, we have two types of scientific name. The first type is, we can say, binomial nomenclature. The first one is binomial nomenclature. The first one is binomial nomenclature. The second one is trinomial nomenclature. Right, so we have two forms in this scientific name, binomial and trinomial. So remember this, the entire scientific name work was done by the Carolus Linnaeus in his two books, right? He has written, so this entire scientific name segment is being given by a very famous scientist. It's the Carolus Linnaeus, right? The name itself is the thing. He is extremely famous. And he has done a lot. He has written, if we will talk about, he has written 3 books, Philosica Botanica, Systema Naturae, and we can say Species Planetarum. But I'll be making you write 2 books only. So he has written 2 famous books. One for plants and another for animals, right? One for plants and another for animals. The first book was Species Planetarum. Very important book. The first book is Species Planetarum, very much important book. This book is the history book, right? It classified plants. This Species Planetarum was for plants only. The Species Planetarum was completely for plants. The second book was the second book was Systema Naturae. This book contains the information about the animals. This book contains the, we can say, the information about the animals. And all these nomenclature segment, all these nomenclature, these scientific name is being controlled by 5 codes, right? We have organizations who make these names, right? It has been not been given randomly by anyone, right? We cannot give random names, or a random scientist cannot give these names. There are certain organizations which are going to give these names. So we have 5 organizations who give these names. I'm going to talk about 5 only, and some of them I'll be giving you as homework that you have to write it down in the comment segment. The first one for plant, it is ICNB. Oh, sorry, ICBN. It's ICBN. It's the International Code of Botanical Nomenclature. And for animals, it is ICZN. International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. It's very much important, right? It is extremely important to remember all these names, right? ICBN, ICZN, then we have for some bacteria, for cultivated plants, for viruses, but it is out of syllabus. It is out of syllabus. You just have to remember for plants and the animals. In the comment segment, just to write down the full-fledged form, we can say the full forms of ICBN. ICBN is what and ICZN is what. So you have to remember this. All the plant name is being given by ICBN. All the animal names is being given by this ICZN. Right, guys? So now let us understand the rules of nomenclature. The rules of nomenclature that will come in the binomial nomenclature. First of all, so let me write down the heading: rules of nomenclature. Let's go. Right, let us understand what are the different rules of nomenclature. Why? One by one. Right, so we'll be understanding these rules of nomenclature by a single example. We are going to take an example of Mangifera indica. We are going to take an example of Mangifera indica, mango. The scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. Right, the scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. So they have certain rules, right? So the first name, so rule number 1 says that the first name is always the first name is always what? It is always be the we can say it is always the generic name, genus name. The first name is the generic name, generic epithet or generic name. I'll just write down epithet. Or we can say this is a genus. The first name is always genus. The second name, the second one is called as the specific epithet. Right, the second name is called as the specific epithet, or we can say this the species. You have studied this in your junior classes, right? The first name is always the genus and the second name is always the species, right? The first name, the first letter is always going to start. The first letter is always going to start with the, we can say, I'll change the color to this. The first letter, this M. And over here I. The first letter is always in capital. Remember this. The first letter is always in capital. The first letter of the genus, the first letter of the genus should always be in capital, and the first letter of species should always be in small. Remember this very clearly. The first letter of the genus should be always in capital. The first letter of the species should always be in small letters, right? So these are the basic definitions, and this is always in Latin. This language means the name is always written in Latin because it's a dead language. No one uses this language now. Right, it's a dead language, no one uses this language. It should always be in Latin, right? And if it is being printed If printed, it should be in italics. If printed, it should be in italics. If handwritten, it should be underlined separately. Right? If it is handwritten, it should be underlined separately. Simple, you have to remember this. If it is been printed, it should be in italics. If it is handwritten, it should be underlined separately. And the scientist name or the author's name is being written in the end in the abbreviated form. The scientist name in abbreviated form. Right, the scientist name is written in the end in the abbreviated form. For example, over here we have to write in us like this, LIN dot. Right, so you can see over here I have underlined it separately. I have not did anything else, and I have written LINN in not dot form. Right, so these are the basic rules of nomenclature that you have to remember. Right, these are the basic rules. So around there are 76 rules, but you have to remember all these basic rules only, whatever I have taught you. You don't have to go beyond this. Remember this, you don't have to go beyond this. This is the only thing you have to remember. Right, these are the only rules that you have to remember. Now let's go ahead and understand the binomial nomenclature. Right, it's a very basic thing that we have been studying from our childhood days. Right, binomial nomenclature. Let's go ahead. Very interesting one. Very basic and extremely interesting. Right, very basic and extremely interesting. Binomial nomenclature, as the name suggests, it has two names. Right, it has two names. For example, we are going to talk about let's suppose we are going to take an example again of mango. Mango is my favorite. Example, we are going to take an example of mango over here. The scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica. Right, we all know this. It is Mangifera indica. Right, the scientific name. So the first name of binomial nomenclature is species. It has two names, the first name and the second name. The first name is our genus, and the second name is species. That's it. This is what we call as binomial nomenclature. Simple. Simple. Now let's talk about trinomial nomenclature. Now let's talk about the trinomial nomenclature. So this trinomial nomenclature is very simple and easy to remember. Remember just one thing, trinomial means 3. So it has 3 parts in the name, right? It has 3 parts, the first part, the second part, and the third part. The first part is going to be the same. The first part is always genus. The second part is the species. And the third part is the subspecies or varieties. Subspecies in the case of plants, and variety in the case of animals. Just a second, yes, you can write it down. Right, subspecies in the case of plants and variety in the case of animals. Right, जैसे we can take an example of Brassica oleracea variety capitata, that is a cabbage. Right, gorilla. Right, so this is our animal. So these are the various and basic forms of trinomial nomenclature. I'll just write down one example of trinomial nomenclature. That is Splendid corvins or Brassica oleracea variety capitata. I will just write down one example. It is Brassica oleracea variety capita. So that will cut. I'll just write down below. The example is brassica, underline, oleracea, underline, and then we can write down below also, it's okay, capitata. This is a cabbage, right? This is a cabbage. So this is all about nomenclature, and I'll say this is all about today's lecture. This is all about today's lecture. Now what you have to do, I'll just want you guys to do one particular thing. I just want you, all of you, to do one particular thing. Like, share and subscribe. Please do that. Like, share and subscribe, and please do comment down below. I will be reading each and every comment, right? I will be reading each and every comment, and I'll try to add these comments. I will try to add these comments in our day-to-day lectures also, right? I will try to add these comments in our day-to-day lectures, whatever the lectures are coming, right? In our recent days lectures, I'm going to add all these comments in our classes. So how was the video? Just do tell me in the comment segment, and if you have watched this video till now, I know you have already subscribed it and liked it, right? So please do tell me in the comment segment how was the video. This is going to motivate me, right? Please do share it with your friends, and the lecture part 2 will be live soon, right? The lectures part 2 will be coming soon, so please be prepared. So just watch this video entirely, right? So I hope so you have liked this lecture. I am your biology expert, Salman Anwar Khan. Bye-bye.